This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Keep watching for more information and a special offer.
Well, this is awkward. Remember how a couple of videos ago I was talking about the nationwide test of Germany's civil defense system? How all the sirens were going to go off and phones were going to go ping and messages were going to pop up on digital displays all over the country. Well, we certainly learned a thing or two. Students of German learned some new words including Panne, Blamage and Fehlschlag. Everybody else learned that in the event of a real emergency, we're screwed. Now, for me, everything seemed to be working. I heard the sirens go off at the exact moment they were supposed to go off, and the Catavan app on my phone got the alert on time, although it did take a couple of minutes to actually generate the push notification. But it did work. But it seems that I was in the minority. All over the country, countless numbers of people reported that they noticed nothing. No sirens, no radio announcements, even their apps stayed silent. So, what happened? Well, that is what officials are now trying to find out, but a few interesting facts have already emerged, and some of them at least appear to be in the category of things you would have thought the government should have known. First and most obvious, sirens are not everywhere. Now, I did mention in my previous video that with the end of the Cold War and the advent of modern technology, sirens have become less important, so that was partly to be expected, but even so. I knew there were no sirens in some of the bigger cities like Berlin, and that does make some sense. I mean, you might not be able to hear the sirens very clearly over the sound of cars and trains and police sirens. There are other ways of alerting the general population in those areas, such as, for example, electronic displays at bus stops and train stations. But even in many rural areas, it seems it's very hit and miss. In my village, the sirens are still very much in use, but in some other places it seems that they have been neglected. See, after the end of the Cold War, responsibility for maintaining and running the civil warning system passed from the federal government to local government, and sirens are expensive. If you're a rural district somewhere with very little money, sirens might not be a wise investment. We're not expecting the Soviet Union to invade anytime soon. In fact, the Soviet Union doesn't even exist anymore, and the effectiveness of sirens depends on a lot of random factors. For example, how well you can hear a siren will depend on things like which way the wind is blowing. Some days I can barely hear the siren in our own village. Other days I can very clearly hear sirens in the neighbouring villages. So you might instead invest your money in more modern systems. Why wouldn't you? So there are places where the sirens don't work properly, places where the sirens have been dismantled, and places where the sirens can be used to call out the fire brigade, but can't be connected to the warning system. All of this would have mattered less if the modern high-tech systems had worked properly. But they didn't. At the moment, there is a lot of speculation about why they failed, and it may be some time before we know for sure. But one thing that may be a factor is confusion over exactly who was supposed to be doing what. This was a nationwide test. Apparently, one signal was supposed to have been sent by a federal government agency. But it seems that several local governments thought that they were supposed to be sending their own signals. Dozens of signals were sent simultaneously into the system, and this apparently broke it. At least that is what's being said at the moment. You'd think the software would have better error handling capabilities, but apparently not. As a result, while some warning apps worked, most people got their notifications half an hour late or not at all, which doesn't bode well because... Hang on. Oh, okay, looks like I have to go now. Apparently Napoleon's just invaded. If you're abroad and you're trying to get the latest information from your own country about exactly how incompetent your government is, you may be having a hard time with the dreaded geo-block. You know, this content is unavailable in your region. ExpressVPN is a reputable and reliable virtual private network that can help you get around a geo-block, which is great news not just for travellers but also for students of foreign languages. ExpressVPN is also secure, and it can help to enhance your privacy by keeping your internet activities secret from your ISP. Use this address or the link in the description to sign up for a 12-month subscription and get 3 months free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. ping and messages would... Sirens might not be a wise investment. Why it failed, and we may not know for sure for a while. Go bugger. See, after the end of the Civil War,